We've talked about the mistakes we believe were made leading up to the release of Security Breach, but now that the game is out, it's time to talk about some of the mistakes we feel were made in regards to glitches, story, character, lore, and just general gameplay. Now that we have the game and we can be like, what is wrong with it? What is great about it? All of the things. Number 10, Vanessa. Don't get me wrong, I liked Vanessa in Security Breach, but I also kind of feel like her character suffered from wasted potential somewhat in this story. I wanted to learn more about the complexities of Vanessa. I wanted to learn more about her relationship with Afton and her own sense of purpose here. But instead she ended up as very much a pawn and kind of just like another barricade that you have to deal with in the game. Vanessa claims to want to help Gregory, but she definitely appears to have ulterior motives that are never explicitly stated but seem to be connected to her role as Vanny. We also don't really get to learn if Vanessa is aware of this other persona and is more willing now here, or is just more brainwashed into following Afton. There are so many questions just left unresolved when it comes to her character, and she definitely doesn't appear to be as genuinely interested in helping Gregory as it was implied in some of those trailers. Even the implied connection between her and Gregory seems to have completely been discarded. And it was definitely implied that she was maybe gonna be like his sister or like his mom, and now it's just like, no, she's just a security guard. Alright. Number 9, duffel bags. This just is a curious element of the game that I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense in regards to the story. When it comes to items or messages, we generally retrieve them from duffel bags that can be found throughout the Pizzaplex. But why duffel bags? Like, I understand thematically they look great. They're like these 80s style duffel bags. They look like they belong in the world, but who's leaving them around? And why are there like messages and information and stuff inside them? Who's just putting notes in duffel bags and being like, I'll just leave that there? What is the narrative purpose of these duffel bags? As I said, they're cool. I mean, I definitely want to own one if they made them into merch. Also, if anyone is listening from Steel Wool and, you know, wants to make these into merch, I'll buy them. But I feel like the whole idea of what is inside them is just kind of random. Sort of the same with the music boxes, to be honest, that we find throughout and get prizes from and passes from, especially for carrying important things like passes. Like, why is that in a music box? But even then, I feel like those actually fit better than the duffel bags, narratively speaking. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to talk about, you know, some more of the questionable choices in Security Breach, the mistakes if you will, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Also, I want to talk about some of the great stuff too, because there's a lot of great stuff in this game, so maybe if you thumbs it up, we can do the other part of it. Number 8, modern day. While setting Security Breach in the present day was a cool choice that I can totally respect, I'm not sure if it was like the right choice. After all, a lot of what is going on here just feels, I guess, a bit disconnected from the rest of, well, everything that has been established so far. That and there's just so much left that we have yet to resolve when it comes to the past of Five Nights at Freddy's. There's decades of history that is murky and that we've never even got into, and setting this game in the present day has not yet seemed to help clean up or clarify anything that really came before. It's still a bit early when it comes to our deep dive into, you know, all the Easter eggs, the hidden elements, the clues that could relate to the lore and theories that we've already established before. But on the surface, this game being set in the modern day just made it feel a little bit more disconnected overall from the franchise, in my personal humble opinion. What do you think? Was this a mistake for you? Would you want a game set in the past, possibly like in the 80s? Or do you want to just keep moving forward when it comes to the timeline? Number 7, lag. So one of the biggest mistakes in this game seems to be how laggy it is. From a production standpoint, of course, we're talking about. I mean, I understand that you might struggle to play in, you know, like high res, high definition and say, you know, stream Security Breach, because that's going to be hard, not just on your system or your console, but also on your internet. But even when you just play this game, like offline, it seems to have moments where it struggles a bit. It's lagging. Lag is just never fun. And yes, I know it's often inevitable in games that are giant like this one. At least, I mean, it feels somewhat inevitable. I don't think I've ever played a giant game that hasn't lagged somewhere. But that doesn't mean that any of us, developers or players alike, need to like lag. So you know what? I still don't like it. Number 6, I can't go-kart. You all know how excited I was to have Roxy Raceway and to have this potential to just race go-karts around everywhere. Not only did Roxanne Wolf turn out to be kind of disappointing as an animatronic, considering, you know, how narcissistic she is, at least when we first meet her, even though initially I was actually excited for her character, but also her raceway doesn't really allow us to unlock and race go-karts. There's no intense racing mini games here. Sure, there is a sequence where you need to stop Roxanne herself using a go-kart, but we did not get any options to actually have a fun time racing on the raceway. Also, it might just be me, but I was kind of hoping for either like an actual go-kart like time-lap mini game within the track itself, or you know, some kind of Mario Kart FNAF amalgamation mini game that we could play as, I don't know, an arcade game in the Pizzaplex. Actually, I think there is one in Roxanne's room, but I've never tried to play that, so I don't know if that actually works. Does that work? I don't know. How sad. Instead, when it comes to any kind of racing in the game, it's all about the main objectives, defeating Roxy, capturing those eyes. And you know, I'm for that too, but I also just kind of wanted to have fun and feel the wind in my hair, or at least, you know, imagine the wind in my hair. Number 5, crashes. As with many new games as well, Security Breach is not immune to crashing or giving you just a completely black screen. However, as much as this is a glitch or error in Security Breach, it's also a pretty common error for you to encounter with new games in general. So it's no surprise that tons of people have reported this being an issue or a glitch. One of the more problematic spots for this on PC seems to be when you move into the daycare area, and happens as a result of possibly GPU issues and certain things just not being fully up to date in your system. Don't worry though, a lot of these frustrating, scary crashes already have a whole articles dedicated to helping you move past them and fix them. Number 4, sidekick Vanny. Vanny was implied from everything we saw to be an ally of Afton's, and I mean she was, but I think there was a good number of fans, myself included, that were kind of hoping she'd ultimately be the one to take over for William, and that this game would kind of be like a passing of the torch, as MatPat has said before. That isn't really what we got here. Not only that, but as a sidekick character, Vanny just didn't really get to do that much. Sure, she was still the key to getting William to, you know, return to life once more, but I feel like she had a lot more potential to be or become more of a mastermind herself, and even become more powerful. Part of me thought that Afton would somehow imbue her with power, or like even maybe take over Vanny, giving him a new, more lively form, as he's pretty much like a shambling corpse. Instead, it felt like we just got a lot of the same old same when it came to who our main villain was, and how weird and kinda unclear his overall plot was here. Why does Afton even want to return to life, by the way? Number 3, mismatched subtitles. If you, like me, love to play with the subtitles on so you can just read everything instead of just relying on your ears, you might at times be disappointed in Security Breach. Why? Well, because the dialogue that is being said doesn't always match the subtitles that you're seemingly given. Sometimes this appears to just be like a conflicting error where repeated NPC lines just aren't synced with the subtitles, which means a line you've probably heard a dozen times or will hear a dozen times is still being said, but an alternate, often repeated line is being shown instead in the subtitles. So it's like just a conflict of repeating lines getting mismatched. However, sometimes these mismatches are just kind of creepy. Like when Chica is meant to say that your parents are looking for you in regards to what the subtitles read, but instead she just kind of like gutturally growls, "Gregory." Wait a minute, Chica, I heard you. It's not what you said. Number 2, unable to save. Sometimes this seems like it might be a glitch when it happens before 6 AM, but after 6 AM it's definitely like a choice that you make. It's not a glitch then. If you choose to stay in the Pizzaplex and not leave after having that initial chance to escape, you have to be a lot more careful, as you can no longer save. You can't use those save stations that you could use before. This was obviously a choice in order to help, you know, raise the stakes when it came to your death as Gregory in the game. Anytime you get caught or you seemingly die, you now have to start all the way back from the last checkpoint with no option of you getting to choose when to save your progress. For those who dislike having to run through segments of a game possibly on a loop when struggling, this is likely a nightmare. For gamers, however, who enjoy this kind of play style, and you know, maybe enjoy some sense of punishment, they like when it punishes them a bit, a game, this probably isn't that bad. Still, there are lots of people out there looking to get around this part of the game by exploiting glitches, so obviously there are enough people out there who are not a huge fan of this style of gameplay. So people are looking for ways to get around it, or simply they just find it annoying and they're like, this is fine, but not all the time, because I'm gonna play this game a lot. Obviously we're all gonna play this game a lot because we're gonna be looking for like every little detail. Number 1, deleted scenes? I don't know why I said it like that, but are they deleted scenes? What happened? Based on what we saw in the trailers and teasers for Security Breach, a lot of the moments and scenes we were most hyped about there seem to have gotten the axe, which is really unfortunate considering, you know, those are some of the moments that we were most hyped for. I know I, for one, was eager to figure out why we were running from Vanessa when it seemed like she might be trying to help us. I was interested in learning more about the relationship between the split personalities of Vanny and Vanessa, and I wanted to know just what William Afton wanted and why did he want it, and who was helping him. It sounded like there was multiple people, and how do we as Gregory fit into that? Instead, we got more of like a wrong place, wrong time scenario when it came to our story. At least that's how it appears on the surface. What are your favorite moments when it comes to Security Breach? What choices are you less a fan of? How do you think the game could be made even better if we could get it to be made even better? If we could get that extended cut that we want? Let us know your thoughts on Security Breach in the comments below. We want to hear how you're feeling about the game thus far and how many times you've played it. This has been Top 10 Gaming, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Till next time, remember to recharge your flashlight and keep on gaming on. Pew pew!